क्या बचपन से ज्वेलरी का शौक था, क्या पैशन था, क्या था ज्वेलरी में कैसे?
So I was looking for something to wear, which was to my taste. I couldn't find anything in the market that suited my personal taste. I'm also a very strong advocate for the Made in Pakistan label. I think it's really important for the world to know that we also have the kind of capacity and talent here in our local industries, dying crafts जिनको हम कहते हैं, जिनको हमें preserve करना है, जो हमारी cultural heritage है. But so far, we don't have PayPal here. So clients normally look for alternative payment channels. Right now, State Bank is also looking into providing us with facilities that make this process easier.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. I am Lala Rukhajaz and we are back with another episode of IBA Hour 1313. We have with us very inspiring Sukaina Abbas. Sukaina I've had the pleasure and the privilege of knowing for a number of years, and बहुत ही inspiring story और बहुत ही different area जिसमें वो काम कर रही हैं और बहुत ही progressively जो है वो सीढ़ियाँ चढ़ती चली जा रही हैं of success. Before I further say anything, I think I would like to talk to Sukaina and ask her, Sukaina, आप बताइए, who is Sukaina Abbas?
Firstly, thank you so much for having me here today, Lala. It's indeed a privilege, an honor, and a pleasure to be here. Sukaina Abbas कौन है? Sukaina Abbas is a homemaker turned jewelry designer who's running a brand called Enchante, and her axis is the three boys in her life. She is an advocate for women empowerment and women entrepreneurs, and she's also, I think, a resilient, hardworking woman who refuses to give up.
Yeah, very important. Privilege all mine. मैं सुकैना ये पूछना चाहती हूँ कि आप सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियर हो. सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियरिंग से एक टर्न towards jewelry designing and manufacturing, and then supplying it globally also. ये कैसे हुआ? क्या inspiration थी?
I think in one word, serendipity. I was a homemaker by choice. So despite having my degree in software engineering from FAST ICS, I decided like most Pakistani households, I also got married right after my degree, and I preferred not pursuing a career because I believed at that time I would not perhaps do justice to both. But then from being a dedicated homemaker to becoming an entrepreneur, which was a result of a very traumatic experience in life, and I was trying to overcome that. And this actually started as positive healing therapy for me. I think I only can say, I always say that it's destiny. It was meant to happen. It was not planned for sure. But now that it's happened, I look back and I see this is where I was meant to be.
Fantastic. ये हमारे IBA Hour 1313 से बहुत close है आपकी journey, because 1313 is the hour where there is some divinity that turns your life around. Absolutely. And it takes you to newer, greater heights, and Absolutely. There is hope involved, there's courage involved, there's confidence involved, and I see that you are a bearer of all three qualities. तो ये बताओ कि क्या ये ज्वेलरी क्यों? क्या बचपन से ज्वेलरी का शौक था, क्या पैशन था, क्या था ज्वेलरी में कैसे?
Actually, interestingly, this time when I launched or started taking an interest in jewelry was because the conditions in Karachi were not very favorable politically, and sari gold jewelry locker mein thi. It's the time, I think Karachiites can relate to that. And ek safety ka element while wearing your gold jewelry to occasions, to weddings, wo bahut, it was not very favorable. So I was looking for something to wear which was to my taste. I couldn't find anything in the market that suited my personal taste. So I got things custom made. I researched, found somebody who could make, because I had stones, and I was like, I want to make this into pieces. That worked really fantastically well. And I was kind of encouraged by the fact that other people who saw it in the family wanted to get the same done for themselves. and that's how it took off.
Oh, that's really interesting. ये बताओ, you said you had gems. तो यानी के interest पहले से था.
My paternal grandfather was a geologist, and growing up we had specimens of rocks and stones, displayed in our drawing room shelf. So I saw those. He had books in his shelves. It was part of our childhood, but I never thought I would go into that field. I was not interested as such. The gems that I'm referring to were mostly given as gifts from pilgrimages, from Iraq, Iran, and Medina. So I had some of those, and I thought it would be very interesting to design jewelry around them.
Very interesting. ये बताओ कि gems का, because now you are interested in gems, you've been exposed to it. ये बात तो तय है कि entrepreneurship के अंदर जो childhood के influences होते हैं वो कहीं ना कहीं आते हैं और वो आपकी story में भी नज़र आ रहे हैं. तो मुझे ये बताएं कि वैसे gems के साथ पाकिस्तान में कोई ऐसी institute है जो आपको educate करे और on this certify करे, या है या नहीं?
Unfortunately, this is a field that has not gotten the importance it deserves in Pakistan. Though Pakistan is a naturally very rich, it has very rich resources in gemstones, and we are, many people don't know that we are the highest exporter for aquamarine in the world, and lots of other precious stones that that goes out of the country. There is a government body called the Pakistan Gems and Jewellery Development Corporation that does some training. They do short courses, but it's not a whole degree program like the ones outside of Pakistan. So when I got interested in this, I applied to the Gemological Institute in America. They offer distant learning and lab classes on campus and online. I was really keen to know more. I believe that आप कुछ भी काम करें तो उसको अपना 100% देना चाहिए. And I would not be able to make quality products if I was not educated in that field, if I was not skilled enough to judge quality. And that's the reason I decided to do my applied jewelry professional diploma from there. So one thing led to the other, and I then recently finished my diamond grading course from there.
Wow.
I also got a scholarship to go to London and do a gemstone identification lab.
Okay.
Many people don't know this, but it's a whole science. They are very pretty to look at. They're even beautiful to wear in jewelry, but it's a whole field of science that that has degrees, that has courses that can be done.
And we don't have them.
We don't have those here, unfortunately.
So there's a big market that is untapped.
There definitely is, and it's one of those things that can be taken up as a very favorable career, given the kind of opportunities that we have in Pakistan.
Absolutely, absolutely. मुझे ये बताओ कि एक तो obviously institutions नहीं है, awareness भी कम है, मगर at the same time जो आप area के अंदर काम कर रहे हैं, jewelry, it's an area that I don't see many women jewelers and gemstone handlers and all. So is my observation correct, or?
So this is a tricky question because I think there are two variants to this. First is jewelry designers and manufacturers who are actually building brands. And the other is women who like to sell jewelry. So there's a difference in the two, right? We have access to a lot of mass factory produced products that are cheaper and that have flooded our markets, and it's easier to buy them in bulk and resell them with a small premium. Building a brand specifically to jewelry designing and accessories here in Pakistan, I think there's a lack of awareness in the audience because we still have to learn to appreciate the beauty and the value of handmade products, and the depth that goes into using gemstones, the imperfections that those stones have. I think there's a small niche that has been exposed to it, perhaps internationally, and so they are aware of those quality factors and look for them. But for the masses, I think it's a decision based on the pricing.
तो सुकैना, for you, आपने consciously सोचा कि आपके जो customer है वो specific certain niche market hogi? Did you think that, or did it happen organically, or are you producing for the masses?
So the day we started, we had a vision that was to focus on three factors, which was quality, the design, and the service. I think that has remained the same throughout the years that we grew as a brand. But having said that, we have also evolved as a brand, and now we are trying to focus more and innovate and explore this field of jewelry designing, and emphasis again is on quality. I think that's the core values that attracted the kind of clientele or niche audience that looks for those factors when buying jewelry. I'm also a very strong advocate for the Made in Pakistan label. I think it's really important for the world to know that we also have the kind of capacity and talent here in our local industries that is at par with international markets, especially our neighbors.
Absolutely. So कहना मुझे एक बात बताओ, आपने खुद आइडेंटिफाई किया कि हमारी जो मार्केट है दो तरह की है, एक वो जो नीश को आइडेंटिफाई करती है और क्वालिटी को के साथ आइडेंटिफाई करती है कि प्रोडक्ट जो है वो किस तरीके का बना है या जेम्स के कट्स कैसे हैं क्या, और फिर एक वो है जो प्राइस पॉइंट को लेकर के चलती है. मुझे बड़ा मेरी क्यूरोसिटी पिक होती है ऑन द सप्लाई साइड, बिकॉज आप काम करते हो क्राफ्ट्समैन के साथ, और क्राफ्ट्समैन बहुत किस्म के मैन्युफैक्चरर्स के साथ डील करता है. आपको उसमें किस तरीके के challenges हुए या नहीं हुए, या maybe you had to educate your craftsmen?
I think building a supply chain for me has been a pain point, because the kind of expertise or the kind of perfection that we seek, the artisans are not used to that, because for them, most of them are generational craftsmen, right? A skill passed on from father to son, and they've been doing it for centuries. एक factor तो ये भी है for them कि एक female comes in a male-dominated domain and she says you're not doing it right, because maybe she's gone and read some books or done some courses, and she tells you there's a better way of doing it. They don't want to, because obviously cost cutting and the kind of safety concerns. There's so many factors that we as a society in our region, we don't look into, that I think should be a part of every work domain, whether it is artisans or craftsmen or other areas. Also, I think there's a lot of education. Apart from the skills that they have, they do need to be trained, because there's a lack of infrastructure here. We're still following the age-old techniques, and there's a lot of innovation that's been done globally that could be brought in this industry here, and I think it would really make a dent in the economy, because it's a sector that has not been tapped into yet.
कैसे आ सकता है सुकैना ये? How do you think it can happen?
I think the first and foremost is to do our in-depth research on what's going on in other countries around the globe. There are institutes that do train courses, not just from the perspective of the design side, but also from the manufacturing. And we need to see and form collaborations and partnerships. I think our government can play a very important role. Apart from the private sector, these are things that the government has to come forward and take an initiative and encourage this as a career or an entrepreneurship opportunity for the young ones.
जब आपने इस एरिया में कदम रखा काफ़ी अरसे पहले, तो लाइक यू सेड मेल डोमिनेटेड सेक्टर है, इंडस्ट्री है. इवन अगर आप गोल्ड में भी देखें, और फिर गोल्ड मार्केट मच मोर एक्सेप्टेड एट दैट टाइम देन सिल्वर. आपको किस किस्म के चैलेंजेस एक्सपीरियंस करने पड़े?
अगर हम हिस्टोरिकली देखें, हमारी जो सोसाइटी की ओरिएंटेशन है ना, दैट्स has always influenced our fashion choices. जो आप बात कर रही हैं कि gold jewelry was, since traditional times or ancient times was a status of symbol, power and wealth, and that's how you showed your wealth. However, historically, if you look at the subcontinent, silver jewelry was also a very favorable choice for jewelry making, because not only the aristocracy and royalty favored it, but also the masses. And it's very versatile, it's very affordable and malleable, and it allows you to create and express styles in it. And that's the philosophy that we also looked into. silver is the new gold. So why create in gold when you can create in silver without breaking the bank?
मैं ये पूछना चाह रही हूँ कि because you have spent a number of years, you've seen this industry develop. उस time में और अब changes लगते हैं when you started and now?
Changes आए हैं both positive and negative. I think first I'd like to talk about the negative one, which is as again we said, there's a lot of mass-produced products in the तो उससे ये होता है कि जो बहुत सारी crafts हैं, dying crafts जिनको हम कहते हैं, जिनको हमें preserve करना है, जो हमारी cultural heritage है, that has to be preserved for the coming generations because that is something very unique and remarkable. On the positive side, I think there's a lot of focus on sustainability and sustainable fashion, and that is where silver jewelry comes in. It's a very favorable choice for sustainable fashion because you are investing in a piece that can be repolished, that can be freshened up after years, as compared to something that's just a seasonal buy for one time.
So कहना ये बताओ कि you worked extensively with the private sector also and with the public sector also. Government के साथ भी काम किया आपने, different committees पे भी serve किया है, और private sector के साथ आपने different projects किए हैं and you've actually serviced them with whatever their requirements were. आपका experience कैसा रहा and how do you compare that experience, like if you compare the sectors also?
I think firstly talking about the private sector, so we were a supplier for Sentiments Express at the TCS for some time. We've also done projects for Hilton Pharma and Qawmi Bachat, National Savings and other organizations. Working with such organizations and catering to their requirements for a project, I think it was a great learning experience. Firstly, I think आपको confidence आता है when you out in the market and pitching against other vendors or dealers for a public project like this. You also learn how important quality control is in bulk production. आप B2C कर रहे हैं, आप किसी customer या एक single client के लिए एक piece बना रहे हैं, that's different. But when you are doing a bulk order, you have to make sure that the quality is maintained throughout each piece, and that's what you are known for, and that's how you build your reputation, right? And also time management. I think ये चीज़ें इस तरह के organizations के projects करके जहाँ पे work ethics and work ethos are in place, so it's good learning for small brands like us as well. Talking about the government projects that we did as part of the SME Digitization Committee for Sindh, it was a project by GRASP ITC, and we were trying to formulate a policy that would help small and medium industries in a digitalization framework. There's a huge gap, we are all aware of that, in our infrastructure, in the facilitation of for SMEs to build and grow. And I think for me, this was my first experience, and it was a very positive one because formulating such a policy is the first step in identifying the problems that we all are facing in the local market and in the local industries, be it for instance access to internet. Most of the SMEs are selling online as well. Leave alone the big cities, if you move a little down in the interior side, in the smaller towns and cities, we don't even have network coverage, right?
Yeah, absolutely not.
So these are factors that need to be highlighted for the government, so they try and facilitate all these SMEs and industries to grow. Another is payments. So recently there was a lot of hue and cry about some of the tax impositions on digital payments, whether it's by the payment supplier gateways or other third-party vendors. And for a small business that's trying to that's being pushed to go towards a cashless economy or convert to a digitalization process, such added costs affect the decision making.
True.
So we need policies that are more positive and that foster rather than try and block us.
मुझे ये बताओ कि for corporations, I'll go back a little. For corporations and servicing corporations, जैसे आपने बड़ी organizations के साथ काम किया है, was that like something of a conscious decision, or did you also just stumble upon that?
For these projects, it was obviously I got to know about some of them, and I was very interested to see if we had the capacity. Okay. Initially, that was my goal, to see whether we could, fulfill those requirements at a bigger level. I think once we had that confidence, we were very happy to be part of Khadi's recent projects. They have launched an amazing platform for women entrepreneurs called Create Your Mark, where they are giving out space in 3 of their outlets in Pakistan, and you create an assortment of designs for them and provide an inventory that they sell. Yeah. That was huge learning. That was, I got to know a little about the retail side of the story, and it's a whole different game altogether. Yeah. So I think that's the kind of learning, once you grow to that level, I think it's very essential for you to learn that processes and take baby steps towards it.
Is retail eventually on the lines for you, on the cards for you?
I liked what I've seen so far, but I think we still have a long way to go. There's a lot of learning involved, and there's a lot of infrastructure development that I'd like to work on before we fully, once we do it, we want to make sure we are the best in the field. So
you are the best in the field. That goes without saying. Let's reverse a little bit. About cashless system, do you think there is a hope in Pakistan for a cashless system? Can we even see it like next 5-10 years?
I'm a very optimistic person. So I like to believe that we hopefully will raise enough awareness about it. I was part of Better Than Cash Alliance report that we have recently launched on SMEs and on pushing them towards digital economy. And see, the issue is not just you and me trying to shift onto cashless cards or something like that. It's the whole structure. So even if my client is willing to pay through the credit card, down the supply chain, my vendors are not ready for cashless payments at the moment. Yeah. They still want to do, cash transactions, because for them that's the way of life. They do not, most of them do not have bank accounts. They prefer handling cash. There are other factors involved. I mean, tax evasion हमारे यहाँ मुल्क में एक बड़ा factor है in the gold industry that I know. That's the reason that most of those transactions are on cash and not through banking channels. But then again, the whole world has moved on, and we are still lagging behind. So if we have to make sure that our economy progresses in the right direction, this is a step that we'll have to take. And it will only be facilitated if all stakeholders provide those conducive conditions for the users and for the SMEs both.
But right now with the taxes and all, I think even the ones who were actually going on cashless transactions have reverted back to cash transactions. That's what I've seen.
And for clients as well. So it's a mindset. So they would, the regular ones have been buying, so they are very comfortable. They're like, okay, all right. So we, we'll transfer them. Often, हम deliver भी कर देते हैं, and it's like, because it's such a regular client, we know that they're going to eventually transfer the amount in a day or two, and that's not an issue. The rest, the whole world has, when you place an order and your order is received, it's usually prepaid, right? And because there's such a trust deficit in our country on a lot of things, including online buying, that women still prefer cash on deliveries, and they want to see the product first. As a vendor or as a brand, for me, the whole process of returns and recovering the payments or resending back the payments is such a hassle here that I would also prefer that she sees it and pays on point rather than delivering and then reversing the payment if there's a return. So till those processes are made easy, I think we'll all still be a little hesitant to.
In terms of international clients, उनके साथ भी इस तरह के कुछ issues आते हैं in terms of payments. How do you manage that?
So international clients are tricky, though they're always welcome, and that's something that we want to grow and expand in. but so far, we don't have PayPal here. So clients normally look for alternative payment channels. Right now, State Bank is also looking into providing us with facilities that make this process easier, but at times it's a challenge, especially when the dealing is between another partner organization or a B2B transaction.
Yeah.
That's where we get in trouble.
Right.
But mostly we have a large percentage of expats who visit in the holidays, and they like to pick up gifts.
Yeah.
So with us personally, it's more like pre-ordering before they come here, and once they are in Pakistan, they get their products delivered and pay here as convenient to them.
Yeah, I think it's such a huge market that we are losing out on.
Absolutely.
अगर इसको हम focus करें इसके ऊपर तो हमारी even in terms of our exports.
Absolutely. See, Amazon came and there was a huge excitement amongst a lot of sectors that we'd finally be able to access markets outside of Pakistan. But unfortunately, it was just a select few top brands that benefited from that.
Yeah.
But the rest of us, we still have to wait till that process is streamlined, because it's not just payments, it's also delivery.
Right.
For a product as fragile as mine, I need to make sure that the delivery is very smooth and seamless, and of course, it's covered all down the last mile.
अच्छा, मुझे ये बताओ कि gemstones के symbolic meanings होते हैं, और सुना है मैंने, पता नहीं है मुझे कुछ खास. Tell me, is that true? Do you actually believe in it? कुछ truth है या बस ये एक feel good वाला factor है?
So I have interestingly studied about this in my courses. There's a lot of myth that comes back from in ancient traditions.
Yeah.
अच्छा, उसमें मैं एक चीज़ ये क्लियर करना चाहती हूँ कि वो जिन पत्थरों की क्वालिटीज़ या जेमस्टोन की क्वालिटीज़ या पर्टिकुलर पावर्स के बारे में बात होती है ना, वो जेमस्टोन्स आजकल वाले जेमस्टोन्स भी नहीं हैं. See, that's because those were very pure. I find it so beautiful that a chemical composition of compounds, creates a beautiful ruby or a sapphire, because I'm kind of studying that in depth right now. So I'm actually studying chemistry about how their atoms bond and how the color becomes dark if it bonds in a particular way, and that is so fascinating, because that teaches you that maybe there was some truth in those, because these are the same elements or compounds that we take in our medicines.
Yeah.
The medicines that we take for healing and cure are composed of the same mineral elements as these stones. Yeah. And when they talk about a wearer, for instance, particular stone is associated with protection or supposed to bring you luck, it's probably because it made you feel better. Yeah. Those stones in those times were untreated. Yeah. They were without any tampering. They were very raw, taken from the earth and itself. So maybe, yeah.
Yeah, one would like to think that, right?
Yeah.
मुझे ये बताओ कि proud moment. I mean, इतने सारे होंगे. I'm sure आपके proud moments, you have achieved a lot. लेकिन something that stands out today.
I think there have been a lot of challenges that we have overcome to come this far. But for me, I think every time somebody sends me a message saying that the jewelry that they bought from us or that we made for them was part of their special moment, I think that's a proud moment, because that means somebody is sharing their happiness and their milestone with us and allowing us to be a part of it. I think that's really special.
That is indeed very special, and I can vouch for it. I've done that. So yeah, indeed, very very special. अच्छा, हमारे students हैं, उनको कुछ उन्होंने सवाल लिख के भेजे हैं, कुछ fun questions I'm going to ask you some of them. एक तो वो आपसे पूछना चाह रहे हैं कि if you were to travel to any fashion era, past, future, and bring back one trend that you would incorporate in your designs, क्या होगा?
Wow, that's a good one. I would definitely go for the Mughal era. And late 17th century, early 18th century, I think jewelry making truly flourished during that period, whether it was the Muslim subcontinent or whether we talk about Europe. And the styles that they're talking about, I think there was a lot of menswear at that time. That was tradition, and that was accepted. You know, and the quality of stones used in those times, I think there was a lot more, and it was accepted as not just as a status symbol, but as appreciation for good art.
Yeah.
I think I would like to bring that back.
So rich. It was a rich.
It was a rich culture, absolutely.
Sukaina, मुझे ये बताओ, in terms of networks, women entrepreneurial networks.
Yeah.
Do you think they play a role like
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
What are the networks that aspiring women entrepreneurs can tap on, and how have they helped you in your journey?
I think for me personally, my journey started with one. So it was all trial and error at first, and I was part of the Women X course here at IBA. And it was during that course that I registered as a sole proprietorship, because that's when I took the decision to move forward with it, and it was no longer a hobby. I think it's very important to foster such communities, because हमारे यहाँ एक मसला ये है कि हम लोग झिझकते हैं help मांगते हुए, you know, and a lot of times I've seen Pakistan में, unfortunately, there's a proportion of startups that fail, and that's primarily because for lack of due diligence, research नहीं की हुई होती, inadequate planning होती है, and then again there's no consultation with mentors or peers, right? So that aspect is so important, to be a part of a community that not only encourages you, but also you get to learn from them, because learning is a two-way process, and that's why I think I firmly believe in mentoring as well. I am very active. I try to be active, you know, as a mentor for other women entrepreneurs in different networks, because I believe giving back is the only way we can flourish the ecosystem, right?
Right. With that, we'll come to an end of our episode. Thank you so much, Sukaina, for giving us the time.
Thank you for having me here. It was such a pleasure.
So, wrapping up, thank you again, Sukaina, for the time that you have given us. I really hope that you guys have enjoyed our talk. It has been an inspiration for me, and I'm sure that it has been an inspiration for many, many women entrepreneurs, both young and old, who are looking to step into this space. Remember, it's just the first step that's holding you back. Please take that step. There are many people like Sukaina who are waiting to hold your hand, mentor you, coach you, and hope that and pray that you achieve greater heights. Thank you so much. This is all for today. See you next time. Bye-bye.